Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It is my distinct pleasure to introduce Orangetown Supervisor Teresa Kenny, a lifelong Rockland County resident who cares deeply for her residents and their quality of life. Supervisor Kenny is an attorney and daughter of a retired New York City police officer. She has both a deep appreciation for the rule of law and a deep knowledge of our legal system. Prior to serving as supervisor, she served as deputy town attorney for the town of Orangetown and practiced real estate law in private practice for over 30 years. And I can think of no one better to highlight the gross overreach by Mayor Eric Adams and other officials in New York attempting to usurp local zoning laws than Teresa Kenny. Any claim that our border is secure, you need not look further than New York, where New York City has taken in over 65,000 migrants since this crisis exacerbated last year. The governor and the mayor are asking for an emergency declaration. They have nowhere else to house these migrants. So the idea that we do not have open borders is laughable on its face. Couple that with New York's sanctuary city policy, and you have a recipe for disaster in New York City, and it is spilling out into communities all across New York State. And that is why Teresa Kenny's testimony here today is invaluable to this committee.
Thank you. Next hear from Supervisor Teresa Kenny.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and every member of the subcommittee for giving me the opportunity to speak with you today about what transpired with Mayor Eric Adams and his efforts to house migrants in a local hotel in Orangetown, New York. I'm here today as the town supervisor of Orangetown, a suburban community approximately 30 miles north of New York City, to give you some insight into what is happening around the country as a result of the migration crisis at the southern border. It is important to note at the onset that what is happening in Orangetown is not unique. It is playing out throughout communities all over our country as major cities are reaching capacity for migrant housing, and they are sending them to other communities without any regard for whether they have the resources or capabilities to handle them. Orangetown's story began on Friday, May 5th, when New York City Mayor Adams called to tell me about a pilot program he was implementing as part of his decompression strategy. The plan, he explained, was to relocate migrants from New York City and to house them in hotels all across New York State. His call was to let me know that a hotel in Orangetown had been identified as a possible location. Mayor Adams downplayed the plan, telling me there was a chance that no one would be housed in Orangetown, and he implied it would be happening in weeks. When pressed for specifics, he told me that a member of his team would get back to me. I received a call from a member of the mayor's staff, and that's when I learned that the plan was to house single adult males in a local hotel and that the buses would be arriving imminently. In fact, it was within hours of that call that I received photos of hundreds of mattresses stacked outside the Armoni Inn & Suites hotel, and it was evident to me that the plan had been in the works for quite some time, and that it included giving local elected officials very little advance notice as a means to thwart legal challenges. Throughout the following days, it became clear that the New York City intended to house 340 men at the Armoni Inn & Suites, a local hotel in Orangeburg, a small hamlet of just over 3 square miles and a population of approximately 4,500 people. The hotel is situated less than a mile from 2 college campuses, 2 senior citizen housing complexes, and a high school. It is located at the intersection of New York State Route 303, which is one of the most dangerous highways in the county, and Kings Highway, a street of mostly residential homes. Mayor Adams' plan was simple: to convert the hotel in Orangetown into a housing facility for long-term residents, or in other words, to open a New York City homeless shelter in Orangetown, which is a clear violation of our local zoning standards. So based upon this information and what was garnered from the phone calls and the observations of medical supplies and other shelter items by town officials who inspected the property, the town issued a notice of violation to advise the hotel that it was not consistent with the definition of a hotel as set forth in our town code. Despite the issuance of the notice of violation, on Tuesday, May 9th, New York City scheduled a debriefing call with elected officials to tell us that they would be sending buses the next day. They also described conditions consistent with the shelter, and that there would be on-site staff available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, including 1 social worker and 1 caseworker per migrant for 30 migrants, and that New York City would cover the cost of 3 meals, laundry, service, and housekeeping for up to 4 months. They also introduced us to the staff from .go, a company that New York City had contracted with, which specializes in providing medical-related services to shelters. In light of this, the town filed legal papers in Rockland County Supreme Court and retained a restraining order against the hotel on Tuesday, May 9th, effectively preventing the use of the hotel as a shelter and the arrival of any migrants from New York City the next day. To be very clear, for our purposes, the immigration status of the individuals is irrelevant to the town's decision to seek legal recourse. The town sought legal action to ensure the integrity of local zoning regulations and the protection of those who would be housed in the hotel on a long-term basis as a shelter, as well as the community at large. I also want to outright reject any charges made that it is an act of anti-immigration. Rockland County is home to a vibrant immigrant population, and in fact, I'm married to one. But over the last 2 years, there's been a steady increase of migrants finding their way to Rockland County and settling in with the support of family, friends, and local community groups. This has already started to put a strain on Rockland County and Rockland County Department of Social Services. So much so that just over 2 months ago, Congressman Mike Lawler and County Executive Ed Day held a press conference and, standing with nonprofits, explained the financial impacts on Rockland County. The problem with Mr. Adams' plan is that he does not have one. That became evident when, during the debriefing call, a member of staff was asked about what would happen with the migrants at the end of the 4 months. The response was that they expected them to integrate into the community by that time. But Orangetown, like the rest of New York State, is in a housing crisis, affordability crisis. So the question is, how are these men without English skills, without family support, going to integrate into our community? So I will tell you what will happen. They will end up renting from unscrupulous landlords, and we know what's happening because just this past March, there was a tragic house fire in Rockland that killed 5 undocumented immigrants, including 2 children, with 5 others being hospitalized. Orange and Rockland County just do not have the resources or staff levels to investigate and remedy these types of situations on a large-scale basis. Without the federal government acting to stem the flow of migrants at the border, it was only a matter of time before it impacted all of our neighborhoods. While it is Orangetown today, it will be yours tomorrow. Thank you, and I look forward to answering questions.